It is Thursday, the 9th. I think it's the 9th. Yes, it is. 11 o'clock. Actually 11:01. Hope you've had a good morning this morning. And sorry I didn't meet with you yesterday. Hey, sissy. But my husband said I needed to take a break, so I did. And so I'm back here today. What we're making today, hey Jennifer, how are you doing? We are going to be making no-bake cookies a different way. I know a lot of people that make the no-bake cookies, and I love the way they make them. Every time somebody makes the no-bake cookies and brings them to church, I can't quit eating them. But these are different, the way that I make these, and so I hope that you enjoy. Okay, we're going to start out with 2 cups of sugar. 2 cups of granulated sugar. And then we're going to have half a cup of cocoa. Hey Cindy, how are you doing? We're making no-bake cookies a little different than maybe the way that you guys have made them before. Okay, so we've got 2 cups of sugar and half a cup of cocoa. And then it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt, but I usually just sprinkle. I apologize again, I still don't have my tripod. I have my tripod, but I don't, like I told you before, I don't have instructions on it. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So Sissy, I know you've got one, you're gonna have to help me with it later. Okay, so we've got the sugar and the cocoa and a little bit of salt. Okay, then it calls for half a cup of milk. Whole milk is what I use. And like I said, I'm not sure on this, if you make it, if this, I mean, because this is going to be like real fudge. It's going to taste like real fudge, but the smokes. So we're going to stir this up really good. And I go ahead and add the cocoa in the vanilla. A lot of times I don't add vanilla to the very end. But in this one, I add it now. And it's just a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay. Stir that up real good. You stir this up really good before you ever turn your heat on. And I'm cooking this in my mother's pan, her pressure cooker pan, the bottom part of it. Man, she has cooked many a meal in this. So we're going to turn this on medium high. We're going to bring it to a boil. Okay. We're also going to add a stick of butter. You know me and my butter. I just about don't think I make anything without butter. So we're going to just put that in there. It doesn't have to be melted. You're just going to stir it around as the sugar and all melts. So that is it. That's all we're adding except for the oats. Now a lot of people add peanut butter. I love peanut butter and chocolate. That is the 2 favorite things that I like together is peanut butter and chocolate. But for some reason, this I like a lot better because it tastes more like just eating fudge with some oats in it. And you've got to try this and see if you like it better. And you can let me know if you like this better or if you like the peanut butter kind better. So again, you're not timing this. You're stirring this on medium heat until the butter melts and the sugar melts. Stirring it the whole time. And I got a story to tell you. It's a true story, too. A few years ago, I went for my physical, and my doctor told me that my cholesterol was too high. And it was a little bit over 200. It was like 230 or something like that. And so he said, you're going to have to get on medicine. And I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, is it possible that I can work on this for about 3 months? Since it's not that terribly high, can I work on this and see what I can do myself without having to go on any kind of medicine? And he said, yes. Hey, Betty, we're making no-bake cookies. And we're making it a little different than what most people make. So, and I'll go over that recipe in a minute, but I'm telling them a story about what happened to me. So so he says, okay, Teresa, you can have 3 months to see if you can lower your cholesterol. I said, okay. I knew oats was a good way, if you ate oats, is a good way to lose weight. Or, well, to lose weight, maybe not. To get your cholesterol down. It's good for your heart. So, I thought, well, what can I don't like oats, and I told you that the other day when I made that oatmeal Amish. Now, I hope you like that. If you made it, I hope you realized it was nothing like eating a big old oatmeal cookie with a little brown sugar on it. But anyway, so I thought, well, what can I do with oats? How can I fix oats that will help me bring my cholesterol down? Hey, Tony, how are you doing? We're making no-bake cookies with a little different twist to them. But I'm telling them a story right now. I'm mixing it all together. So anyway, I thought, I know what I can make. I'll make my no-bake cookies. So that's what I did. I made these cookies. I ate 2 cookies a day, every day. So I made a lot of these. I made quite a bit of batches for 3 months. I go to the doctor, and I compensated for that. I didn't gain weight during that time. I compensated for it. I was much younger, and I was working out a lot. So I compensated for it. I go to the doctor. He checks my blood, and I come back for the results. He said, well, I don't know what you were doing, but your cholesterol has gone down over 30 points. I said, really? He said, yes. He said, what did you do without medicine? And I said, I'm not going to tell you because you won't believe it. And so I didn't tell him. So, but I promise you. And then my friend also did it, and her cholesterol comes down. So, this is a very nutritious cookie that we're making. It will help our cholesterol. So it's good to have no-bake cookies. So it's a true story, and it really worked. Hey, Miss Elaine Bagwell, how are you doing? Hey, Courtney. So we're making no-bake cookies with a little twist, something a little different. I have 2 cups of sugar, a half a cup of cocoa, a half a cup of milk. It calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I just put a little bit. And a teaspoon of vanilla and a stick of butter. Hey, Abby, we're making no-bake cookies with a little twist, something a little different. A lot of people like to add peanut butter to their cookies. And like I told you, I love peanut butter and chocolate. That's my favorite combination. But I love fudge better. Just plain homemade fudge, I love it. And today would have been a good day to make my homemade fudge. But I just kind of had an inkling for this. I mean, if it's going to help us with our cholesterol, we need to eat it. That's my philosophy, and I'm sticking with it. So, hey, Jessie, we're making no-bake cookies. So, we've got 2 cups of sugar, half a cup of cocoa, half a cup of milk, stick of butter, teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And it's good to cook it in a heavy pan so it doesn't stick. It's important that you do stir the whole time. So we're going to bring this to a boil. And it's getting real close to that. Now, you're supposed to cook this. Hey, Helen, how are you doing? We're making no-bake cookies. And a little bit different than probably what you're used to making. most people add peanut butter, and I'm not going to add peanut butter to mine this time. When this comes to a rolling boil, which, if you could see, and you can't yet, but you will be, when it comes to a rolling boil, then you're going to add, so it's 11:11, so we're 11:16. We're going to take it off the eye. Most of the time you cook, we're going to turn this down and let it cook for 5 minutes. Now, most of the time you cook it for 1 minute. We're going to cook it for 5, but on a lower speed. And we'll see what happens. Okay. So that's going to take about five minutes. During this time, you don't have to stir it. Hey, Miss Willie, we're making the no-bake cookies. We just put 2 cups of sugar, half a cup of cocoa, half a cup of milk, stick of butter, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. I think that's it. You're watching good, Miss Lily. Okay, so that's gonna be cooking. Now, don't let me forget about the time. Somebody yell at me if I go past 11. What did I say? 16. 11:16. Now you can check this. You want to cook it. Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? We're making no-bake cookies. You can cook this until a softball stage. So that's why I think of it being just fudge cookies. But but if you don't want to mess with that, I just time it. Now, you're going to have to understand your eye burners cook different than mine. So you'll have to kind of watch it. And it might be a good idea to check it to see if it's a softball. And I'll show you how to do that. My sister told me yesterday she made that chicken and dumplings, and she said, you're not as thorough as you need to be. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more thorough, because she made the chicken and dumplings. She didn't know how much water to put in the pan. So I'll try to be a little more thorough. Now, when you're checking the softball stage, what you want to do is take your spoon, you want to stir it around, let it drip. You have just regular water in here, cold water, not freezing cold out of the refrigerator, but and then you let it drop. And if it forms a soft ball, then it's ready. Okay, now, the way you can tell if that's a soft ball is basically get a hold of it. See that? And it's getting real close. I mean, it's soft, but I think we can go a little longer. We'll see. If you get a hard ball, you've gone too far, and you'll know next time. And cut your minutes down. So we're gonna, and I don't know if I've cooked it on this stove or not. The no-bake cookies. So, excuse me, it may not take the full time. So we'll check it again in a second, because we may be getting real close. And this is another thing. If you've cooked fudge all your life, I've cooked fudge ever since I was 12 years old. And if you have, you know the taste right before it sets. And so I can taste it and tell. It's getting close. I love fudge. Okay, it's 11:15. We got 1 more minute. I think we're going to take it out, but we'll check. I'll show you again. Okay, shake it up. Let it drip off. Drip into the water, cool water. tap water, just right. You don't have to have it cold. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. You can see it's still, it's still soft, so we're still in good shape. Can you see that? See, you can move it around into a little ball. Okay. So now you know, oops, it's 11:16. Hey Mark, how are you doing? Jay Parker, how are you doing? We're making no-bake cookies. One of my daddy's favorites. He loved it too. Okay, let me show you what we're going to do next. All right, we're going to turn it off. Now I'm going to use this little this cutting board right here. You want to take, I just wax paper, put it on here. I usually am sitting at the table doing this. And you're going to set this here because you are getting ready to make out your patty. Okay, now we're going to add, it calls for 3 cups of oats. But I add, because I'm wanting to be healthy, I add 4. So, but I'm just going to put 3 at first to make sure that it's not too thick. No, it's gonna be good. The thing about this, it's gonna harden pretty quick. So you're gonna have to be pretty fast on getting it out on your wax paper. Oh guys, that looks yummy. Okay, well, just do the whole thing. So it's really going to be healthy today. I've got 4 cups in this batch of oats. Okay. And now it's ready to take out. So you want to just take it by just a spoon, a teaspoonful, and drop it. Well, this is hard to see. You're just taking it out and dropping it. Everybody calls these no-bake cookies, but I've always called them, growing up, I called them chocolate haystacks, is what we grew up calling them, because that's what they look like. They look like little haystacks. So, you can call them, you can name them a different name if you want to. It doesn't matter what you call them. But I call them chocolate haystacks. Because really, the no-bake cookies call for peanut butter. Now, if you were going to do the peanut butter, which honestly, I'll just have to be honest, I've never done it because I like these so well. But you've got to try these and then compare with the ones that you've eaten before with the peanut butter and let me know what you think. Now, this is going to make, of course, these cookies are pretty big. They're, like I said, it's a heaping teaspoon. a heaping tablespoon. I think it usually makes 20, or I don't know. Whoops. I got to get that up. And you don't need no chocolate, Miss Willie. Can't give her any of this. She'll never eat another thing. She wants chocolate all the time. Okay, we're getting closer. It's funny how these kept getting bigger. Now see, the thing about this, cooking it in this heavy pan, you don't have to worry about it sticking or scorching. I love this pan. I cook my spaghetti in this pan. It's just I cook anything that I'm concerned about it sticking or scorching. Okay, we're about to get it, guys. There's my breakfast for the next few mornings. See, I love chocolate and I like to have it for breakfast in some shape or fashion. I'm about to run out of bread, but I took some bread out of the freezer, which don't worry about me. I've got bread, but fresh bread. Okay, and so I usually have bread in some form, cooked some form for breakfast. So, okay, guys. Last one. Okay. They turned out perfect. Thank the Lord. I always thank Him when I get done with it. Wow. It's done. All right, 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21. What do you think? Looks pretty yummy. Okay. Well, you're going to have to cook them. And let me know what you think compared to your no-bake cookies with peanut butter. And we'll just call these, like I call them, chocolate haystacks. Okay, our lesson, our little devotion today. You know what today is? Well, it's Thursday, but it's also a special Thursday. Today is called Maundy Thursday, which means also Holy Thursday. Do you know what Maundy means? Maundy? I have trouble saying that. Maundy means new commandment. And this is what, when Maundy Thursday happened in the time of Jesus. This is the eve before he died and before he was crucified. It's a real sober time. And it's the word itself means new commandment. He gave his disciples that night a new commandment. And that new commandment is John 13:34. He said, I give you a new commandment, to love one another as I have loved you. Well, that's what he asked of them, but that's what he asks of us. That's what he asks of us as well. We are to love one another as he loves. You think about what he did that night. Well, he had a great supper with his disciples. They had a great meal together. And I've often wondered, before we ever have communion, I think about what he must be thinking, knowing that that's their last meal together. And how he loved his disciples and how he loves us. And that's when they shared their first communion. We call it the Lord's Supper. He took the bread and he broke it and said, this is my body that is broken for you. Eat in remembrance of me. And he took the wine and he poured in the cup and he said, this is my blood, the new covenant. Do this also in remembrance of me. So that night, they got a new covenant. And the next day, when he died on the cross, it became a blood covenant. It was very special. Suffering that he did and loss is the fertile soil in which growth and wisdom can develop. When we suffer and when we lose, think about it as the fertile soil where we're going to learn wisdom and we're going to grow closer to him. He went through a lot of suffering and he lost a lot. That night he lost his life more than any kind of loss we that ever done for one another. And it's a special time. Not only did he have communion, the Lord's Supper with his disciples, but he washed their feet. Have you ever wondered why he washed their feet? Number one, as a good leader, you got to be a good servant. Good leaders know how to serve, and they serve well to be a good leader. But you're all leaders, not just leaders and preachers and priests and pastors and all. They're leaders, but so are you. We all are leading somebody, hopefully to Christ. And so as we lead, we serve. And how we serve shows how we love. Well, you think about feet, and feet, especially in that time, were nasty feet. They were filthy because they wore sandals, and the ground that they walked on wasn't paved like what we have today. It was dirty, dirt roads, and so their feet had to be nasty. And what did he do? He knelt down and he washed the disciples' feet. Jesus wasn't afraid of their filthiness. He wasn't afraid of it then, and he's not afraid of the filthiness of our sin now. He loves us. To me, it raised the definition of love to a new and higher level that night. Another thing, after that, he goes to the Garden of Gethsemane and he's praying. And I've often thought about this. I thought that, when he asked the Lord, he said, Lord, would you please, he asked God to please take this cup from me. And, but then he says, but not my will, Lord, thy will be done. Remember, he said that. And I thought, and I've often thought, because he knew he was going to die, it was going to be a really painful death, and he just knew that it was going to be terrible. And so I thought, well, it came that close to him not doing it, because God could have honored him and said, okay, son, I won't. And where would we be today? But today, as I was studying and reading and listening on my phone and listening to different thoughts people had, it just opened up something. Sin originated in the Garden of Eden. And here he is in another garden, the Garden of Gethsemane, where sin was going to come all together in one place, on the shoulder and heart of Jesus. Sin, if there's sin in our life, God can't be there. He can't even look upon sin. I mean, he's not going to be around sin. It's just, God's not, he doesn't have anything to do with it except forgive it. I think Jesus was praying to the Father that, because he knew when that sinner began to fall upon his heart right then, the sin of the world, of the past, of what's going on right then, and of what's going on in the future. I believe he had a revelation. Oh my goodness, God is not going to be here with me. I'm going to have to do this alone. I'm going to have to do this by myself. Well, God never forsakes us. But I think in that moment, that's when he cried out. Maybe that's just a thought for you to think about. Maybe he was crying out because that would have been the first time in his life that he was separated from God. Because sin does separate us from God. And so you think about it. If he had to carry all of the weight of the world, the sin, on his heart, then he was going to be separated from his Father. And that was more troubling and more agonizing. I think that would have caused him to cry tears of blood to be separated from his Father. And it just made me think about, I can't imagine a day separated from God. I want to talk to God every day and throughout my day and share things with him. I want it to be special. I can't imagine separating if God pulled his spirit from me. How would the emptiness, how would you feel? So it just kind of came at a different revelation to me this morning, that I want to keep sin out of my heart, sin out of my life. If there's any thoughts or things that I've said or done, I know God has forgiven me for it, and he's forgiven you for it. But I think of the price that he paid that night, that day, when he knew he was going to be separated for a time from God. But he did that for us. That's how much he loved us. I think we come to this day and we come to the Lord's Supper at our churches sometimes, and I think we just go through the motion sometimes. And we don't think of the sacrifice and the cost that it cost our Lord and what he did for us. He was willing to do for us. So on this Maundy Thursday, I want you to think about it. I want you to thank God for what he did for you and for me, because it's how much he loved us. And let us go from this day forward and show his love in such a great way. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we can't even imagine what you went through that day and that night before you died on the cross. The agony, the pain, and whatever it was causing you, whatever the reason, whether it was a separation from God or whether it was the pain of knowing what you're going to face on the cross, whatever it was, we'll know one day, Lord, when you share that with us face to face. But for whatever reason, you did it because of your love. And there's so many things, God, that we can do. And that our love for you should encourage us and give us the boldness to do the things that you've called us to do. Whether it's to be a more faithful Christian, whether it's to give more of our time and our money and our talents, or more to be much more of a servant than what we've been. That maybe we've just been playing Christian, and now it's time, God, to be a real Christ-like follower. Whatever it is, God, I pray that you will be in our hearts in a special way, that you will forgive us where we have failed you. And God, not my will, but thy will be done in our lives. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. You go and have a great Thursday. Make you some of these chocolate haystacks. Let me know if you liked them, how it compares with your other cookies, your no-bake cookies. And just know I love you. See you tomorrow.